Bridgerton has been described as Gossip Girl meets Pride and Prejudice. Having watched and read both of those, can't say I disagree. Hi y'all, I'm Kaya Smell. The series Bridgerton is based on an 8-part book series by author Julia Quinn that follows all of the Bridgerton children, who are a fictitious noble family in the early 19th century. I personally find it exceedingly peculiar that Shonda Rhimes chose this to be her first production with Netflix. If you don't know, she signed a year-long contract deal with them, but it makes sense. It does feed into her talent of excess drama and dealing with an ensemble cast. The first book, The Duke and I, which the series follows, is about Daphne Bridgerton, the fourth child, which you know because they do some weird naming convention where they name their kids in alphabetical order. There's Anthony the Viscount. I used to say Viscount, but thanks to the series, and it was pronounced Viscount, who is in love with an opera singer he can't have. Benedict, the artist. Colin, who allegedly likes to travel, but mostly just pines after attractive, unavailable girls. Daphne, who we will get into more detail about. Eloise, who is fiercely independent and won't let you forget it. And if there was a yearbook back in that day, she'd be voted most likely to die Spencer, an old married woman. Felicity. No, Francesca. I always forget about her, which makes sense because she's missing from the series. If she was there, I didn't see her. And if they did explain why she was missing, it was not clear, which is sad because her book was honestly one of my favorites. It's called He Was Wicked. If you'd be interested in a breakdown of the books, let me know down below in the comments and I'll look to make a video about that in the future. I really hope they do make a second season and they do a time jump so you can see her actually in the series and see her aged up. There's Gregory, who's a romantic, and Hyacinth, who's smart and outspoken, but not in an obnoxious way. Oh, and we can't forget Violet, who was our widowed matron of the family, who was a bit of an alcoholic, but mostly a matchmaker who was able to navigate the ton like no one's business. Now, back to our main characters. Daphne is 21, pretty, kind, and witty, but her biggest quality is she's pretty. Don't forget that. I mean, look at her. She's stereotypically pretty. Even the Queen sees it and names her the season's uncomparable, which basically means she's hot stuff. And Simon, this hunk of a man, me right here, who has no business being less attractive. I mean, look at him. Look at these forearms. Look at him, look at this moon. If it wasn't for him, I would have passed on this show, as I don't typically believe in watching things based on books. I've read so many, and I've been scorned so many times I've actually watched the show or movie. Simon the Duke of Clarendon has some unresolved issues that play into why he does not want to be married, because he has a speech impediment as a child, and his dad ignored him, and he was raised by a governess from ages 2 through his secondary school years. As his dad thought he was an idiot, Simon left the continent and never came back to London until he heard his father was dying, where he makes a deathbed promise to his father that the Clarendon line dies with him. Personally, don't do this. You'll come to regret it, and it will always add an undue burden to your life. Those are our main protagonists, but there are other storylines from other books sprinkled in, particularly with Lady Whistledown, Regency Britain's own Gossip Girl, and Penelope Featherington, the girliest girl next door there ever was. As well as some other characters who did not play a role in the books, but were brought into the Bridgerton world, like the Queen, Mr. Featherington, whom is deceased prior to the start of the novels, the Prince, who didn't exist at all, and Marina Thompson, whom we are introduced to in Eloise's book, To Sir Philip with Love. If you've seen the series, I'm sure you understand why that title is so curious. I've been reading historical Regency romance novels for as long as I can remember. They're sold at grocery stores, so I would sneak them into the basket. Yes, next time you go to the store, I promise there's an aisle dedicated to books for some odd reason. Sometimes my mom would catch me, and other times I make it home with a new book to read, which is honestly wild because I was 12, 13 reading these books, and if you've seen the series, there are some scenes that are there for mature audiences only, but I did not care, and I read the crap out of those books, which I still do to this day. A lot of people have questioning the series, and if you're new to the genre, which you probably are, because the actual target audience for these novels is probably women 40 plus, that makes sense. So I'm here to be your explainer to the world, whether you've already watched the series or getting ready to watch it like the millions others around the world, because I'm pretty sure it's still the top show film on Netflix right now. See this as your pseudo history lesson, somewhat based on fact, but mostly what I've read from my extensive knowledge of Avon romance novels. The Victorian Regency period is defined as the period of Queen Victoria's reign, this bitch right here, which spans her 63-year reign from 1837 to 1901. The period saw British Empire grow to become the first global industrial power, producing much of the world's coal, iron, steel, and textiles. By this time, the role of the monarch was to reign rather than to rule, which we see to this day. I did some actual research for this, so this was shocking as I read books that anywhere from the late 1800s. I did some actual research for this, so this was shocking as I read books set anywhere from the late 18th century to the mid-19th century. The actual period that the series takes place according to the historical definition of the Regency period is from 1811 to 1820, when George, Prince of Wales, governed the country as regent during the madness of his father, George III. This new refinement of sophistication in the arts and manners has become known as Regency style. The series pays homage to these events by showing Queen Charlotte, George III's wife, as ruling and holding court in the early 1800s without him, and her unwillingness to be with him. Interesting fact is that they both died in 1818, Queen Charlotte likely from old age, and King George died shortly after, being blind, deaf, lame, and insane. Actual quote from my research. I digress. Back to the Bridgertons. Did you know that Queen Charlotte was actually a descendant of the Black branch of Portuguese royal house? If you've seen this show, I'm sure you were like me and thought, wait, she can't actually be Black. Then what was with the whole Meghan Markle stuff? I do not know, my friend. But look at her here. And here. She's obviously has some Black in her. The head of the Bridgertons is Anthony, a Viscount. They're a well-respected family, even though they aren't the highest rank. There's a hierarchy. Some of the titles were discussed, others were not. I'm sure you figured out that dukes are at the top, then it's marquises, earls, viscounts, at the bottom barons, and then landed gentry, who are basically people without titles but who do own land. These individuals make up what is called the Regency, which means good manners or good form, goes by the ton for short. A reminder that they are better than you peasants, in case you ever forget the fact you live in near poverty and are subservient to people who do not actually work and spend the time throwing parties, promenading, gambling, and drinking. In this world, all about titles, marriage is seen as for men a way to have an heir. If you have no heir, some random part of your family will get everything, and if you leave behind a wife and some daughters, they are basically screwed, unless the person who inherits is nice or you had enough money to leave them money in a trust. Another key reason men marry are for dowries, which is a process in which a family pays for a man to take their daughter off their hands, or the privilege of having that title. Women marry to uplift their station in life, and if they marry well, it has a direct impact on the future opportunities for their other sisters. The fact Daphne marries a duke is a relationship that holds so much power, as their status can be used to help with the issues that people in their family may have with and influence other members of the town. Example. Let's say everyone is hating on you, but hey, you're close with the Duchess. You have the Duchess come to something or invites you, and then everyone's like, wow, okay, let's not be a bitch to this person, or the Duchess will blacklist us in society, or God forbid, the Duke may raise a coalition of people to be against my husband's or brother or father's bill in Parliament. If you do go unmarried past your prime age, that is what is called a spinster. Realistically, it was probably 18 back in the day, but for book's sake, it's usually around over 23. So what if you're not part of the ton? What do? Women can be part of the arts or opera singer, actresses. Feels that mean you get to be supported by someone like Anthony Bridgerton as a mistress or courtesan, which is basically a career mistress. If that's not your vibe, you can go be a governess, which is basically a nanny, but you also teach the kids. You can also be a wet nurse or maid, etc. If you are an entitled man, like a second son and down, you might join the army or become a vicar or pursue the arts like Benedict does, which, though frowned upon, would be preferred to him doing something where he may die. The goal is to have an heir and a spare, and you can't have your spare die. Then what would you do? Other careers for non-regency are butlers, boxers, butchers, highwaymen or footpads, robbers, drivers, or footmen. The season, aka the marriage market. The season is what the Bridgertons takes place around, and pretty much 95% of all books in this genre. The London season developed to coincide with the sitting of Parliament. During the months when Parliament was in session, members of both houses needed to be in attendance in London and came to the capital bringing their families with them. The London season grew up in response to this influx of upper class people who needed to be entertained. And entertained, they sure do. After the close of parliamentary session in June to August, the nobility would leave the city and return to their country estates. Like this beautiful, gorgeous thing. They might visit a spa such as Cheltenham or Bath, or a seaside watering place such as Brighton or Weymouth, or go traveling abroad. So now I'm going to get into some of the key plot points of the series. If you don't want to be spoiled, please stop here. I won't go too detailed, and I'll try to keep something a mystery, but you'll definitely come out of this learning more about the show than you did beforehand. If you want to go into blind, please skip to the end. Lady Whistledown, voiced by Julie Andrews, serves as a narrator to the series, keeping the viewer aware of what is going on. Having someone like Lady Whistledown was actually quite common. Just as there was newspapers, there was also what's called society papers that serve as gossip rags on the going-ons of the Le Bon Ton. A key plot point that keeps both Eloise and the Queen occupied is trying to determine who Lady Whistledown is, because she seems to know everything that's going on and making the lives of people worse while running and making reputations and undermining the Queen. We do find out who he or she is at the end of the series, but in the books we don't find out until book 4. The motivations of Lady Whistledown are confusing at times. Are they more interested in gossip for gossip's sake, or see the column as a way to push their agenda? As the series goes on, it becomes more and more clear what those motivations actually are. Daphne wants children, but Simon, as a condition of marrying her, says he can't, which he really meant he doesn't want to have children due to his bad childhood. Of course, though Daphne and Simon do have sexual relations, as they're two newlyweds who are attracted to each other, and hopefully we all know how babies are created, and today there are a variety of methods to prevent this, but back in the day the most common and least effective method is pulling out, which Simon chooses. Honestly, I find this whole thing insane. As someone who has lived their adult years in the 21st century and has had sex education in middle school. But let's for a second imagine that you are very sheltered. I mean, so sheltered that you have never spent time with someone of the opposite sex you aren't related to, and know nothing about pleasuring yourself or others. This is the world that Daphne lives in. She would not know anything about sex unless she had an older married sister who would tell her, or came across a maid and footman one day. Innocence is a prized virtue for women and ton, but not for men. A double standard that lives on today. So, though this isn't unfathomable in our lives today, this would have been completely normal in the time period that Daphne lived in. She would have been oblivious. The issue with this is the way Daphne handles it. In the show, it's bad, but in the books, it's even worse, as Simon explains to Daphne why he doesn't want to have kids before she sexually assaults him. And let's be clear, knowingly impregnating someone or getting yourself pregnant on purpose when the other person has made it clear they do not want children is assault. If you saw a sexual violence disclaimer on the series, this is why. Marina Thompson comes to stay with the Featheringtons, a family of the 10 that the Bridgertons are close to through their friendship of Eloise and Penelope. She is there as Mr. Featherington has lots of debts, and it's a way that he can pay off some of the debts that Marina's father owns. Turns out Marina is pregnant by George, a boy who she met back in her hometown, who serves on the front lines of the army, and they write letters back and forth. She swears she's in love and he loves her, and they constantly write. She writes him and that she's pregnant, and then the letters just stop. Until one day she gets a letter from him saying, "I never loved you at all, and don't ever talk to me again." Turns out Mrs. Featherington wrote this in order to convince Marina to get more interested in marrying someone so they can get rid of her and pass the baby off to someone else. Marina tries to trick Colin Bridgerton into eloping with her so she can pass off the baby as his, but alas, Lady Whistledown was having none of this and breaks the news of her pregnancy. She later finds out that George died and he had started writing her a letter that he loved her and the baby and they would get married as soon as he came back. His brother, Sir Philip, is honorable and delivers this news to her and offers to marry her and raise the child as his own. Honestly, I wasn't crazy about this plot point because in the books, when we learn of Marina, she's dead and Sir Philip is left widowed with children before he met Eloise. I felt that this took so much of the season for someone who wasn't even a Bridgerton. And with that, this video is over. I could go more into Benedict and Anthony or Eloise or Penelope, but then this video would take forever. Thank you all for watching and sticking with me through the entire video. Please remember to like and subscribe and comment down below if you like this content and want to see more of videos like this. I'm Kaya Simone, and bye-bye.